Hello everybody. So here we are continuing with the thermometric titrations. So in this topic, we are focusing for the titrations in which we can measure the change in heat during the titration. That change in heat will help us to find out the end point of the titration. Okay. So it is an instrumental technique used to accurately find out the end point of the titration involving a reaction which results in change in enthalpy. All chemical reactions are accompanied by heat changes which can be used to follow the course of reaction. Which can be used to follow the course of reaction. Thermometric titration involves measurement of changes in the temperature during the course of titration. Thermometric titration involves the measurement of changes in the temperature during the course of titration. Temperature changes are accurately measured and recorded as a titrant is added. The change in temperature delta T is plotted against the volume of titrant added. The sharp break in the curve indicates the end point of titration. Sorry. So what is the principle? See, if A moles of A, this is small a moles of A, react with B moles of B, gives you the product B moles of P, and delta H is the heat. Okay, which may be absorbed or which may be given out. Okay, so that is what the molar heat of reaction. That is molar heat of reaction. Okay, and it is measurable. So in ideal system where there is no loss or gain of a heat due to the environment, the process of reaction can be studied. The progress or process of reaction can be studied. The temperature of system could increase or decrease depending on whether the delta H is negative. If delta H is negative, we can say reaction is exothermic. If delta H is positive, we can say reaction is endothermic. Okay. So once the reaction is complete, further addition of titrant will result in sharp break in the temperature and volume curve. Okay. So we can observe the sharp break in the temperature and volume curve. So here it is observable. So we can check it later on, no problem. So that is there in the further slides. So there should be definite free energy change during the course of titration. This free energy change is related to the enthalpy change by an equation delta H is equal to delta G plus T delta S, where T is a temperature, delta G is a free energy change, delta S is a free entropy change of the reaction. Okay, so delta H is equal to delta G plus T delta S. The change in temperature delta T during the thermometric titration is given by delta T is equal to minus delta N delta H upon K, where N is the number of moles of reactant, K is the heat capacity of system. Thus, the total change in temperature is directly proportional to the number of moles of analyte. The total change in temperature is directly proportional to the number of moles of analyte. Okay. So N is the number of moles of reactant. If N increases, definitely total change in temperature will also change accordingly. Okay, whether the number of molecules are less. So if the number of molecules are less, that is going to affect on temperature directly. So temperature may increase or may decrease depending upon the reaction. If the reaction is endothermic or reaction is exothermic, that depends how that is going to affect. So instrumentation. What is instrumentation? If you see on the screen, see there is a burette. Okay, then lead is there. So whole system is kept under the lead is there. So solution is there. This is what our reacting solution. We can say it is a titrant. Okay, titrant. So this is what the motor. So a mechanical stirrer is used with the help of motor that can be stirred. Then a sensitive thermometer, it gives a sharp change in the temperature during the course of titration. Then thermal insulation is provided there so that there should be no exchange of heat of the reacting material with the surrounding. Okay, so solution to be titrated is taken in thermally insulated Dewar's flask. Thermally insulated Dewar's flask fitted with the mechanical stirrer. The use of Dewar flask minimizes the heat loss from the titrated solution. Okay, so that the temperature can be measured accurately. The temperature are determined using a sensitive thermometer having accuracy plus minus 0.1 degree Celsius or plus minus 0.01 degree Celsius. So up to this much of the accuracy we can measure the change in the temperature of the reaction or the titrant and titrant when react with each other. Okay. The titrant is added in the installment. So in the burette, as I told you, that is known to you from the FIBSC, titrant it is added from the burette, and this is what the titrant. Okay, this is the titrant burette, and the temperature are the measured and recorded after each addition of the installment. So temperature measurements are carried out more accurately by using a thermistor, which forms a part of the bridge circuit and gives continuous record of the unbalanced potential during the course of titration. So setup is shown in the previous slide. So what are the applications of this thermometric titrations? So they can be carried out for a wide range of titration type because the enthalpy change is a universal characteristic of the chemical reaction. So since the sensor does not interact with the solution electrochemically, the titration can be carried out in non-conducting, non-polar media, turbid solution, solution forming insoluble salts, precipitate, etc., etc. Stability of the particular reaction for the thermometric titration depends on amount of analyte, enthalpy of reaction, kinetics of the reaction, sample matrix, heat of the dissolution, or the loss, okay, of the heat, and to the environment, okay, whether the reaction is lost to the environment or that is taken from the environment, depending upon. The titrant and titrant reaction kinetics should be fast and chemical equilibria should be stoichiometric. Okay, this is what the requirement over here. So what we can find here, we can study acid-base titration, redox titration, complex symmetric titration, and precipitation titration. So first is the HCl versus NaOH. So HCl added to the NaOH, formation of NaCl and ES2O. So this is what the titration curve over here. HCl and NaOH are the strong electrolyte which undergoes the reaction resulting in the production of heat of neutralization. Heat of neutralization. This recorded as a sharp enthalpy change as shown in figure. In the plot of volume of titrant NaOH versus delta T, portion AB depicts the increase in the temperature, okay, due to the exchange of heat of titration vessel and the solution being titrated with the surrounding. At point B, the titration commences and the neutralization of the acid process heat of neutralization, okay, resulting in the sharp increase in the, you can see here, sharp increase in the, a sharp increase in the continuous up to the point C. Till the point C, it is increasing. Beyond point C, when titration is continued, a gradual increase CD is observed, which, from CD, you can see a very slight increase is there. That is a gradual increase, which corresponds to the heat of dilution. Heat of dilution. So if the portion of the titration curve are reasonably linear with the intersection of the tangents to these lines, gives an accurate endpoint. It gives an accurate endpoint. So see, this is what the point of intersection. If you are coming from C to D, plot a straight line over here, and from B to C, while going from B to C, plot a straight line, and the point of intersection will give you, when you come to the on the x-axis, that will give the volume of titrant or the end point of the titration. Okay, so the volume of titrant at the end point. So now we'll see the boric acid versus NaOH. What is happening here? You can see that a formation of Na, S2, BO3 plus water. So boric acid is a weak acid. So hence in the titration against NaOH, the heat effect involved in the ionization of weak electrolyte must also be considered. This is dependent upon the ionization constant and entropy of ionization. Enthalpy changes produced by the reaction between boric acid and NaOH during the course of titrations shows a single endpoint to that of the HCl versus NaOH. Okay. So as a titrant is added, a steady increase in the temperature we can observe in the titration. When all boric acid has reacted with the NaOH on further addition of the titrant, the temperature of the mixture decreases steadily. An abrupt change in the slope is observed at the end point. Okay, so that end point is from the positive to negative change. And now third is a mixture of Ca2 plus versus Mg2 plus. So here the titration, this is a complex symmetric titration. So combination of calcium with the EDTA is an exothermic reaction, and the combination of the Mg2 plus with the EDTA is an endothermic reaction. So estimation of calcium and magnesium together in the mixture by EDTA using erythrombacti cannot be successfully carried out because stability constant of the chelate do not differ much. However, delta H value for two chelate, that is plus 5.5 kilocalorie and minus 5.7 kilocalorie. So they are greatly differ from each other. Okay, this permits the determination of these two ions in the presence of each other by thermometric titration. The thermogram for the titration is shown in figure. So that is in the next slide. This is what the thermogram for the titration. We will go through it. So curve AB shows the exotherm when the Ca combined with the EDTA, and curve BC shows the endotherm when the Mg2 plus combined with the C. Now this is what the increasing, you can see graph is going in upward direction, that positive change, and here is the negative change. Okay, so in the first case, you can see this is what the exothermic and this is the endothermic. Okay, you can see here. As first is the exothermic change and second is the endothermic change. Okay, so this is what the endpoint for the calcium, this is what the endpoint for the magnesium detection. Okay, so in this way we can find out the endpoint of titration. So A to B it is increasing, B to C it is decreasing, and that remains a constant. Okay, if we plot a lines from A to B and B to C, the point of intersection from here, if you are coming on the x-axis now, that is what the endpoint for the calcium detection, and this is the endpoint for the magnesium detection. Okay, or from where the graph is remaining steady, or the graph remains steady. Okay, now we'll see the detection of Zn2 plus versus so disodium tartarate. So Zn2 plus ion form complex with disodium tartarate in two steps. So Zn2 plus, and that reacts with the sodium tartarate to give you Znt, and Znt plus Na T2 minus. This T stands for the tartarate. Okay, that will give you Zn-T2. So Zn2 plus forms two different complexes like Znt and Zn-T2 2 minus. So with the tartarate ion, we get the two ions over here. The T represents the tartarate ion, as you can see, C4H4O6 2 minus. The thermometric titration curve shows two prominent break corresponding to the formation of these two complexes and giving two endpoints like Y1 and Y2. So Y1 is for Znt and Y2 is for the Zn-T2 2 minus respectively. This way you can see first it is increasing, graph is showing increasing curve. Okay, then that remains steady and that again start to increase. Okay, or that shows a positive change over here. So Y1 and Y2 indicates the formation of Znt and Zn-T2 2 minus. Okay, with the disodium tartarate salt. In this way, we can do the study of different titrations of the titrometric analysis with the help of thermometric titrations. Okay, so in the next topic, I will continue with the analytical method validation. So for this lecture, I'm going to stop here. Thank you.